Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and today we're going to do a streamer on a tube fly called the Black Sheep. And it's supposed to be an imitation of small eels, small bait fish, and it's an interesting pattern, mostly black with some yellow, and that's the kind of color scheme that's always worked for me in the past, plus a little splash of red. So let's get going and looking at materials. Now, in the vise, I have a 1-inch copper tube that is 3/32 of an inch in diameter. This will be the first fly that I've tied on in this series that uses a short tube. A lot of my other ties have all been on longer tubes, 1.5, 2 inches. Our thread is a red Wapsi 140. Any bright red will do. The tag is Uni French oval small in silver. The body is a uni floss in black. We're going to be using 2 bucktails, yellow and black. And for the first time we're going to be using jungle cock on one of these tube flies. So let's get going. Now you'll notice I'm tying in my tag right at the front. As in other flies, I create that spine on top to keep the fly riding upright. Bring it right up to the vise, bring your thread back. Now bring this up on top and fold it over, and it helps create that spine on top. Bring your thread forward. Now for the flosser, we're going to make a double pass. You notice the underside is not neat at all, and that's okay. We're not going for neatness on this pattern. If I wanted to get a really smooth underbody, I would treat this a lot differently, but the reality is, with tube flies, I mean, you usually don't go for the elegant appearance. We're more into a fishing fly. Tube flies are not, by nature, pretty looking. Okay, we smooth out our floss. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start going back, then we'll come forward. Now for a bucktail, and this is a 3-part wing, so you don't want to go heavy on the bucktail. We'll bring it back to about that spot on the vise. Make sure that stays on top. It looks good. A couple of firm wraps, and then we trim off. Bind that down. Bring your thread to the back, and now for the yellow. Same as before, don't go gung-ho on the clump. Now when I'm working with this kind of sandwich, if you will, of colors, where you've got black, yellow, black, I'll tend to make the yellow a little bit heavier than the other 2 layers, because it's being sandwiched between 2, and it's very easy for it to be overwhelmed. So I'm just going to move that around a little bit. I want to see equal on either side. Okay, a couple wraps to bind it in. Okay, now black again. Okay, that looks good. Bind it down. Okay, that looks good. Now for our jungle cock. We're going to use 2 small nails here. So don't go too gung-ho on the size. Put a couple of wraps, then just pull it into position. And a wrap to hold it. Okay, now the other one. Again, you give it a couple of wraps, then pull it in position. And you want them to be basically the same. Here we go. A couple of firm wraps to keep those in position. And then what I'll do is I'll trim off the tags end here. And now we'll finish off the head. And we whip finish. Now for some head cement. I'm going to use some UV glue. Now for a bit of top coat. Okay, there we have our black sheep. I think that's a really interesting little pattern. I mean, we don't always want a giant, great big fly all of the time. And when you want something that's subtle, that has that little flash of yellow in it and the red head, you know, this is a great little pattern. I think this just fish really well. The only thing I would change differently from what I've done, I've used this Wapsi red. I use it a lot. But as you can see here, it has some translucence with the UV glue. So you do get to see a little bit of the the material underneath it showing through once it gets wet. So, you know, regular thread instead of this Wapsi probably would do a better job, unless you're planning on putting on lots of layers. Put enough layers on, then it doesn't matter. But anyway, other than that, it's a great little pattern. I think it'll do quite well. So give it a try, the black sheep. Cheers.